likelihood for a college athlete to achieve a professional standing is extremely rare. This nation has nearly 1 million high school football players and about 500,000 basketball players. Of that number, about 150 will make it to the NFL and about 50 will make it to an NBA team. And while some aspire to turn pro, very few will have the opportunity to do so. In fact, according to the U.S. Department of Labor, there are only about 16,000 professional athletes in the United States today. And when athletes think of college sports as nothing more than auditions for professional leagues, they're less likely to focus on studying or earning a degree. Here I have an example of the amount of hours athletes spend on activities for their athletic sport, depending on the specific sport they play. As shown, every single sport has an average of over 30 hours each week. With that being said, if each student athlete spent this amount of time doing homework or studying for a test, they would be very successful in their academic achievements. There are college athletes that have reading and academic levels of children. According to CNN, an analysis configured that some college athletes play like adults but read like fifth graders. And just barely more than half of the black male athletes graduate at all. Many schools set their standards at the lowest possible level for some athletes. This is particularly true in basketball. Here I have listed some words in which college athletes are reading at that second graders are just now learning. There are many misconceptions about college athletes and their academic achievements. One being, many college athletes make it big anyways. What's the point in studying? However, only 5% of college athletes make it to the professional league. The chances of not having to earn a degree or obtain a job are very low. Another common misconception is college athletes receive full ride scholarships. However, a full ride scholarship for athletics is extremely rare. Therefore, your playing ability should not be fully relied on. Another common misconception would be college athletes are too busy with sports to maintain good grades. But lowering GPA requirements would not be fair to those students involved with extracurricular activities, maintain jobs, and have a high GPA.
Many people believe that college athletes should not have to study nearly as hard as non-athletes when these athletes will use nothing the schoolwork information provides for them. While this may somewhat be true because of the fact that you will always use education no matter what your career is, for the 5% that actually make it to the NFL, the other 95% of college athletes will have nothing to fall back on due to their lack of studies. Many people believe that coaches can play a huge role in influencing their players. In the negative circumstance, a coach can encourage their player to spend more time on the field practicing the sport rather than on their studies. Selfishly, the coach would rather have a good athlete opposed to a good student. In the positive circumstance, a coach would want, yes, to have their player do good at sports, but also just as good, if not better, on their academics. In a personal case, when I played high school football, my coach made sure that all the players sat in the very front row of all of our classes if optionable. He wanted to make sure we maintained at least a 3.0 GPA to stay on the team. Requiring college athletes to regularly meet with tutors and advisors would ultimately benefit college athletes and their future. Athletes are routinely clustered into majors that don't set them up to succeed later in life, mainly because those majors are easy enough for athletes to focus on their sport. For example, for 3 years, Kevin Ross played basketball for Creighton University in Omaha, Nebraska. At 6'9", he was a star player who had hopes for a professional career, but the NBA was not interested. Instead, he wound up working as a janitor in Kansas City. The reason? He had no education. He made it through college with only a second grade reading level, taking courses like marksmanship and basketball theory. To prevent these given examples, college athletes should be required to meet with advisors and tutors on a regular basis if their GPA falls below a 3.0. According to the New York Times, the competition to create a top athletic program now extends to efforts that help ensure that players survive in class. The University of South California spends $1.5 million annually on tutors and other academic support for its student athletes, more than most programs. The university has 14 and a half staff positions in its student athletic academic services department, having added 4 positions in the past 6 years to serve its 550 student athletes. Coaches understand the need for academic stability and are responsible for seeing that all the academic standards are being met. The solution I have proposed will not only create jobs by hiring advisors and tutors, but also better the athlete's academic future.
Today, I will ask each of you to help me support this cause by asking you to sign this letter that I will send to the NCAA. I will be sending a letter to the NCAA to ask them to consider requiring specific help to college athletes to ensure they will be getting the academic advisement they are in need of. I will be broadcasting this on social media in hopes to receive more signatures in hopes of getting the NCAA to take my proposal seriously. Hopefully, I will receive any signatures the NCAA will consider enforcing a stricter academic requirements on college athletes.
College athletes should be required to have to do at least the same amount of schoolwork as a non athlete, especially if they go to school on a scholarship. If you go to school for free, or with a discount, you should be doing the work. Another solution is setting aside certain times to focus on your schoolwork as well as practice time. Focus on both, but not necessarily one more than the other. A benefit from my solution is the student athlete will have a huge weight taken off their shoulder if they set aside studying time and not worry about failing exams and tests. Also, if the athlete does not make it into the pros, they will have the degree to fall back on when looking for a job in the real world. I'm asking you to show support for college athletes and understand how hard it can be to be a college athlete and maintain a good GPA. Student athletes should have to meet academic requirements to ensure they have a definite future outside of sports, to make sure their time in college was not a complete waste. Requiring the NCAA to give back some of the millions they earn from college sports to go to advisors and tutors would benefit their players tremendously. Academic advising and tutoring would play a huge role in aiding these athletes to a better future if the professional league is unobtainable. It is obvious that maintaining good grades and a high GPA is difficult enough, but when having to master a sport, it can seem almost impossible. Although this may be true, being an athlete does not exempt the individual from maintaining good grades.